Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, welcome along to your afternoon rabble. I really should have, socials opened up next to me just in case there is any breaking news. Hello, I'm Martin. I'm your host for today, and I am joined by the Don Connor, and he's very smart black top. Connor, how are you?
All right, it's the day after the shit show before, I suppose. But transfer deadline day, always exciting. Comings and goings here, there, and everywhere. I've already seen a couple of big moves happening this morning as well down south. So, it's always an interesting day, that's for sure.
It's always weird when a player goes from a mid-table club to a not mid-table club, a mid-range club to a top club for 130 million. You don't see that every day. But we're not here to talk about English football. We're here to talk about Rangers. Right. I mean, we could take this afternoon rabble several ways. So what I will do is I will say to people who are in the comments right now, whether that is on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, get your questions in. Start your comment with a nice big capital Q so I can differentiate between comments and questions. Because, Connor, we could take this down the looking back at yesterday, or we could just do a full transfer show. It's up to you. It's up to the people in the comments. What way do you want to take this show today?
Well, I mean, there was not an awful lot to digest about yesterday, as we established on the reaction. It was a bored fest. There is some movement in transfer front. Obviously, Miovski got his start yesterday, which was positive for us. Chimita looks like he could be on his way in the door, as well as Derek Cornelius as well. So yeah, there's a couple in the transfer front, that's for sure. And of course, Cortez is apparently currently overdoing a medical as well, so it looks like he could be on his way out the door.
Just on a loan, though, Connor, because obviously nobody's going to pay for him. I would like to think it's a loan with an option to buy for Oscar Cortez, Connor. If not, then you would hope it's a loan where they pick up his full wages.
You would hope so, yes, because the point is getting him off the books. If we're still paying his wages or contributing to that in any kind of significant way, I think it kind of defeats the purpose, personally. But, again, maybe if there is an option to buy, maybe he does well, and then we can get rid of him permanently and he'll go at maybe the end of the season or whatever. Because the fact is, he's not a player who's got a future at the club. Let's not get ourselves on here. So he does really need to get a move that can be more permanent for him, and hopefully this one might turn into that. But again, the issue is if he goes there and then he just ends up, injured or whatever, or just not cutting the mustard, they won't sign him. And of course, Sporting Gijón was an interesting side. I remember Nacho Novo played for Sporting Gijón quite a lot. In fact, I think that's where he left us to go to as well. So a connection there.
Yeah. Right. There's not really much more we can say on Cortez, to be honest. Albeit, Connor, was in all the times that you've seen him, was there actually a player there? I'm so confused by that signing. I understand it was an obligation to buy, but there must have been a way out of that, Connor, by going that. I mean, although the wages are obviously probably agreed before he comes as well. I mean, can you explain that transfer?
It's hard to explain, isn't it? Because on the surface of it, I suppose when you're first bringing him in, I can understand the interest. We obviously were looking at that time as well. We were looking for wingers because that was obviously off the back of the likes of Sima not being able to get him permanently, which was a blow, no doubt about it. And I still think an opportunity missed for the club, but I still don't really understand quite why we couldn't have brought Sima in permanently. But obviously, in the wake of that, Cortez coming in, I mean, look, in one respect, it's not like we broke the bank for him, but it was still a significant
4
fee.
million, Connor.
Yeah, which is a significant fee, you know. We've had zero return on it, so it really is poor. That piece of business, and probably just symptomatic of who was in charge of things at the time, and then the recruitment side, and obviously in the dugout. Clearly, they felt there was a player in there, having had him on loan, and not really seen anything of him on loan because he got injured pretty much straight away. So it was, yeah, I don't think it was a great bit of business. I think they'll look back on that and realise it was wrong. But all they can do now is get him off the books one way or t'other, and then move on. That they're going to have to cut the losses with it, I'm afraid, because even with this, if this was to become an option to buy, it's not going to be for £4.5 million. It's not even going to be anywhere close to that.
No.
So no, it's hard to justify that spend on somebody like Cortez who's not done it.
No, listen, we'll come back to transfers in a wee second, right? Let's just quickly touch on this. Like, that was the most boring Old Firm game I've watched for a long time. Both teams absolutely jank at creating chances. You could actually argue Celtic were slightly better at getting shots on target, yet they were crap shots. But just before I bring Wally in, it was one of the most boring Old Firm games I've watched for a while, Connor. And somebody's put the comment in, and I can't find it now. I'll bring you in 2 seconds, Wally. If Martin isn't sacked today, I'm done. I'm really done. Connor, there's a 0.000% chance that Russell Martin gets a sack right now.
Well, it's not going to happen today, no. We said this yesterday. The board are very much in a holding pattern at this moment in time, a wait and see type of mentality, I suppose you would call it. It's unfortunate for those who want Russell Martin gone, but at the same time, they've just brought this guy into the club. I don't think they're going to quite wave the white flag just yet on it. And that could be a bad thing. A good thing, but listen, they're going to say that clearly, because it's such a short time, you need to give him more time and then see what happens come September. But if it goes tits up in September and he still can't get a win, then he's in trouble. I have to say, for my money, that people who say, and I seen yesterday
I'll just say, Connor was just responding to a question that I asked him in the private chat. That's why he hesitated there, because like me, Connor can't think, talk, and write at the same time.
No, it's all that multitasking. It's a woman's game. But I've seen people yesterday write in the comments here reaction and saying, when will these people learn? Us, they've got influence in the club, and if they sit and they say he's definitely going to go, then the club will have to act and they'll have to do it. And you're going, that's not how it works. It's just no. I'd love to have that type of influence, Martin, but we don't. You know what I mean? That's just not the case. I'm sure that they listen to the fan noise, but we're here giving an opinion, and the fact is, right now he's not going to go anywhere. Martin has dipped out for reasons, so Willie's with me. Willie, would you agree on that they're just sort of in wait and see mode at the moment with Russell Martin? Well, folks, it's going swimmingly. Willie's froze again.
It has been a fantastic start to the show. It's a great endorsement for how good the Rabble is, and how good the production quality is on the Rabble. It's superb. Right, listen. Let's move on and actually talk about a transfer that is happening. That the player is at the training ground. He has gone through his medical. It's looking as if it's going to be signed, sealed, and delivered, Connor. Yusuf Shermeti. I don't know if that's exactly how you pronounce it. I don't want to alarm anybody. And he's 21 years old. He signed for Spurs in season 23-24. He's made 0 appearances. Before he signed for Spurs, he's made 0 appearances. He's a striker, Connor, who Everton paid an apparent 12.5 million for, who we're now going to be paying 8 million for. Does this worry you at all?
Slightly, yes. I must admit, you confused me midway through that because you said before signing for Spurs, he's never played for Spurs.
Everton. I meant Everton.
No, I was with you until you said that. And I was like, is he talking about the same player? But look, the fact is, yes, his stats, if you want to look at that, do not look great at this moment in time, especially for £8 million. It seems a massive overspend. Kevin Thelwell clearly likes the guy for some reason, because he's the one who signed off on and sanctioned bringing him into Everton for a fee that sort of rose. Excuse me, that rose to £14 million, which seems ridiculous when you look at it. The boy's 21. I understand people saying, listen, you know, it's too much money, that this guy's going to be a dud, it's just another shocking decision. But what I've seen a lot of that I don't like is people are seemingly writing this boy off before he's even put pen to paper. Even in our chat, there's been people absolutely hammering the boy, and I don't get it. He's not even signed for the club yet. It's not his fault that Kevin Thelwell wants to be stupid enough to fork out £8 million to Everton. That's not on him. He's not in control of the fee. He can only come here and hopefully do a job. Now, listen, I might end up eating crow and a massive slice of humble pie because the boy might turn out to be absolute garbage. And that's fine. See if he does, then you can criticise him. Then you can have that conversation. But you can't be doing that before he's came in. Loudrop's right, but it's not about being a happy clapper. It's about being reasonable. This is the problem. We're in such a state as a club at the moment that fans are now dumping on players that aren't even in the building yet. Now imagine that. How are you supposed to come to a club and try and perform and do well when you're seeing fans already telling you how crap a player you are before you even signed for the club? I mean, we all have to just take a breath on it and go, yes, it's too high a fee. Nobody disputes that. But you can't blame him. Give the boy a chance to come in and see what he can do. It's as simple as that. And I don't care. If people want to call me a happy clapper, you can call me a happy clapper. But I'm talking about the facts of the matter. And I'm sick of having a toxic fan base that wants
to risk, though, Connor. Whatever
we write all players before we come in. Of course, it's a risk.
It's an absolute. Can I just double check? Can I just double check, Wally? Can you hear us?
Unfortunately, yes, I can.
Right. I'm going to ask you the question that I asked Connor, and then you two can discuss it. Shermiti, 8 million, Wally, never really kicked a ball. Everton signed him for 12.5. We're about to sign him for 8, rising to 10, apparently. What's your thoughts?
It's not really my money, so I don't really care. Do you know what I mean? I think people have to see it from the perspective, like, and this is the owners that's paying this money, it's not the supporters. Of course, we can always have an opinion on every player that signs. That's the nature of football at every level, isn't it? But it's not exactly money coming out of my pocket or Connor's pocket or your pocket that's making this guy sign. It's, you know, the board obviously are backing Thelwell. He feels like he's a player that can come in and add something to the squad. Maybe they see long-term value in him. I've not seen a huge amount of him. Obviously, like most people, you go online and have a bit of a look at his kind of football ability, his skills. But really, until he kind of rocks up at Rangers and we see him in a Rangers jersey, it's really difficult to actually criticise somebody that we've never actually really seen play. But I guess that's just the world of social media these days.
Well, of course it is. But this is the thing, in that you're getting the mixed response here. I mean, you've got Null here. Apparently, I'm havering it's not about writing players off, but questioning the judgment of signing a player who hasn't kicked a ball. Right, but we've done the same with Hamza Egerman. And that I think turned out to be okay. I get what people are saying, and that's why I'm saying paying £8 million is obviously paying too much. However, that is not Chermiti's fault. He's not the one determining that fee. That's between the two clubs. And if you're going to hold against him a decision made at boardroom level of the clubs, that's unfair. It's totally unfair. Because two things can be true at once, Billy. Kevin Thelwell can be foolish for agreeing to pay £8 million for the player, whilst at the same time we can say, but it's not his fault, you've got to give him a chance. You know, because as far as I'm concerned, Billy, I'm just sick and tired of the constant negativity that surrounds anything the club. You know, we bring in players and we're already, he's a crap player, he's shite, he's this. Like, can we not just, I'm not saying you need to jump into a video, this guy's the next, you know, Ellen Hammond. What I'm saying is, take a breath, see how he looks when he comes in, then make your judgment. You can't, and I guarantee you most of these people who criticise him haven't even seen him play either because he's not played a lot.
Well, I mean, the reality is, when you look at all the players that we've signed this summer, we've probably maybe only seen a couple of them actually play live. And even at that, it's not the same as playing for Rangers. It's a very different game when you rock up to Scotland and play here. For me, like, there's two things, right? Obviously, look, we're all disappointed with the start to the season. So everybody's got a right to be frustrated, to be angry. It's totally fair. Because I was angry after the Bruges game. You know, by the time we did the pod the next day, I was a wee bit calmer. I was still angry, don't get me wrong, but I wasn't quite as angry. But yeah, we can't be like sort of throwing the guy under the bus just because, you know, we're shocked at that kind of money. See, the reality is these days, £7-8 million isn't a lot for a striker. You know, you look at some of the money that's been spent, even just in the last few days. You know, you look at like the lad that Newcastle have signed. He was like a free transfer last year, moved for 70 million this year. And you're looking at the boy Visa, 55 million. The boy that's just left Belgium to go to Germany, I think he was at Celtic previously. He's moving for like 20 million. It's just the marketplace for these type of players. And I mean, the big thing for the kid is he's going to have to come in and push Miovski out of the way, because I thought Miovski had a really good game yesterday. I thought he worked his backside off. I thought he did a lot of really positive work, given he'd only been in the building 24 hours. I was really, really impressed with him. But yeah, we've got to kind of give guys a bit of a chance before they walk in the door. It would be the same as like the Canadian centre-half from Marseille. I can honestly say I've never seen him play. No. But I'm not going to criticise him just because I don't know who he is and because I've not seen him play. Because at the end of the day, every player that walks in the door, they'll be judged over a period of time, not just because of things that get said. I mean, let's be totally honest, right? Seeing a separate part of it, Twitter's pretty mental at the best of times, right? I mean, Twitter is absolutely crazy when it comes to players' judgment, you know, who's good enough, who's not good enough, what wages we're paying for guys, what loan fees we're paying for guys. It's like a never-ending thing. And it's probably a good thing it wasn't about all those years ago under Walter Smith, because we didn't play particularly good football at times under Walter Smith, but we won games. But I can only imagine what it would have been like back then with social media, because everything is just enhanced 10, 15, 20 times over. But I think that's why a lot of football clubs don't really give a toss about what people say on Twitter, because the reality is, for the majority of people that put stuff out there, I'm not really too sure anybody inside the building cares, and that includes me when I put stuff out, because why would they care about a random supporter having an opinion on a player? Because it really doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And very on Craig there covering, when you can sign Miovski for £4 million, there are deals out there. If you look, of course there are 100% there are deals out there, really. And we're all aware of that. The funny thing is, though, that you look at the similarities you've mentioned there. You know, Derek Cornelius, Chermiti. None of us have seen any of these two play. No. None of us. We don't know. The reason that the Chermiti one's causing more consternation amongst the fan base is because of the fee that's been spent on him. Cornelius is going to be a loan deal, potentially with an option to buy at the end of the season, but he'll be a loan deal, so it won't cost us really any money apart from wages. Whereas because Chermiti is going to cost a bit more, you know, significantly more money, all of a sudden that gets inflamed, and more of that criticism comes for the player. It's a weird dichotomy, because surely the same criticism could be labelled at Cornelius. He's not played a lot of football. We haven't seen him play, so we don't know if this guy's going to be good or not.
And that's look, but see, to be totally honest, mate, we've brought guys in from like leagues that we felt would be a good comparison to where Scottish football is, and it's not worked out for them. No, we've signed guys from top European clubs where like the thought process at that point was he'll come in and absolutely scoosh it in Scotland. It'll be very easy. He'll do his best. He'll get a 7 out of 10 out of a game. He'll be comfortable. But then he comes in and has an absolute nightmare. And yet we brought in other guys who basically cost us next to no money, and they were absolutely fantastic. And it's like, I mean, I remember the season we signed Boomsong, and obviously we sold him like 6 months later, and we had like Marvin Andrews in there, and then we went to sign, I think it was Kyriakos, I think that was the guy's name, the Greek player.
Yes.
I mean, that was a pretty crazy season, that. And the reality is, I'd never seen Boomsong and I'd never seen the Greek player play before. I'd seen Marvin Andrews because obviously he'd played in Scotland. But I remember at the time, a lot of people were saying, well, Marvin Andrews isn't good enough to play for Rangers. The reality is that, he walked away with a League Winners medal because of how well he defended. So I think we should sort of remember to not judge players so quickly and to give players some time to settle in. Yes, I understand the level of spend might seem high to people, but seeing this day and age, it's not really. And see if the owners are prepared to back the manager and Kevin Thelwell on this one, then that's their right to do so. It's their money. At the end of the day, it looks like we've already spent, about 20 million so far in this window, maybe just over 20 million. I mean, it could be higher than that, given kind of loan fees and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's not coming out of any supporter's pocket. And see, as long as this guy comes in and does a really good job along with Miovski, nobody's going to complain at the end of the season. Because, it'll no matter how much he costs. Because that's how football is, isn't it? And I guess there does need to be a degree of calm. Hopefully this next fortnight, where we're not playing really, and obviously we get some players away on international duty, we can kind of look at some of the new signings, get them bedded into the team, have a look at how we're going to set up, who's going to be here after the window closes today. This is an important fortnight, I think, in our season, because if we can't improve after this fortnight, then I don't think things are going to get any better. However, during these 2 weeks, it's really important that we work out the best 11, who's going to start in that best 11, how are we going to set up. Because I think when you look at yesterday's game, James Tavernier was excellent. He had an excellent game. So how do you bring Aarons back into that team? I don't think you can. Do you know what I mean? And the same yesterday, obviously Connor Barron hadn't played a lot of minutes, but I thought Connor Barron had a really good game yesterday along with Diamande. And obviously Asgard was doing a job, he was sitting on McGregor. So it's important, I think, in these next 2 weeks that we find stability and we get the team together and get things settled in place, because we obviously can't afford to really be dropping too many more points in the next couple of months, realistically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, listen, it's all a punt, isn't it?
Yes.
We're in that way, and I'll just to finally to put this to bed. I did not argue in the slightest that people hate the boy personally. You never heard me say that. Don't put words in my mouth. What I said was people are writing off his footballing ability. There is a difference between that and hating somebody personally. Yeah. I will say that. But anyway, we move because that's life.
See, but that's the problem. But the problem you've got nowadays, right, mate, is that everybody does have an opinion, and they're right to have that opinion. But I think we've got to wait until the guy's in the building. I think when you see some of the stuff online, it is pretty crazy that we're saying things about players before they've actually even signed the contract. I mean, you imagine this guy's sitting outside somewhere, maybe outside the training ground, or sitting outside one of the rooms, and he's checking social media, and there's guys just going, "Oh, this guy's shit. He scored 3 goals in about 4 years, and he's a ex-Portuguese under-21 player." It's like, I think that's why people need to calm down a little bit when it comes to players coming in the building. And you've got to think that, see if they get this as wrong as some people think they are, which they might be proven right. But see if they get this wrong, then there is absolutely no doubt that Kevin Thelwell won't be here next season. Because if he gets it so badly wrong, they're not going to sit and accept that he's got it so badly wrong. And I think a lot of the problem with this transfer in particular is that he's the one that signed him for Everton. And now he's the one that's signing him for Rangers. So I think that's where some of the backlash is potentially coming from. But none of this should be down to the actual player himself. He's did nothing wrong. He's accepted to move to Everton, and he's accepted to move to Rangers. But if it is proven to be a poor deal and Rangers are sitting on the back end at £8 million, and I'm pretty sure that Kevin Thelwell will be out of a job at the other side of it.
Oh, he will. 100% he will. You know, these are litmus tests for Thelwell, for Stewart, you know, for their regime about how they perform. So, of course, if this turns out to be a flop and it's a waste of £8 million, which there is a distinct chance that it will, I mean, it's 50-50 at this point, then he's going to be under serious pressure. And I think he has to recognise that. But he sees something in this player because he's took big money for him at Everton. Now he's forking out big money at Rangers. I don't know what he sees in him, you know, but he does see something clearly that we're not seeing. But Ian Mitchell with a £5 super chat, he's saying, give the boy a chance and then make a decision. Wonder how many appearances were off the bench. Yeah, that's, you know, it's a fair point. As we've been saying there, Ian, an official Magic Bike Ride has become a YouTube member or upgraded membership. I'm not entirely sure because I'm pretty sure Magic Bike Ride's been a member before. So maybe that's just him re-upping it. But anyway, we appreciate the support as always. Don't forget, if you're not a member, you can become a member. It literally costs as little as a cup of coffee a month, $1.99. You get loads of extra content, you get member shows, you get the Rabble reports, you get wrestling shows if you're a fan of that sort of thing, and a lot more besides. So it's well worth it, I would say. And of course, don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe as well if you would not mind. That, of course, is free, so you don't have to spend a penny on that. Well, let's have a quick chat about a guy who is in the building, who's just arrived in the building, played yesterday, Bojan Miovski. I must admit, I thought it was a decent signing. I thought, yep, you know, he was somebody that before he left to go to Girona, before he left Aberdeen, he was somebody that I think a lot of people thought you've got to be looking at him, at least. Him and Shankland were the hot entities in Scottish football at the time. People thinking, well, surely Rangers and or Celtic have to be looking at these boys, and they didn't for some reason. So I'm glad that we've kind of seen the light, as it were, now. I thought he had a decent debut yesterday. He obviously didn't score, but he was putting himself about, a lot of running. The work rate he's got is brilliant, I think. And he's not played a lot of football recently, so there's wee bits where you think just a bit rusty. You know, the one where it comes over and he heads it into the path of Asgard, you're thinking, does he, if he's, you know, been playing for a while and he's back up to speed again, does he let that drop over his shoulder for a sort of classic Miovski finish? But so far, I'm quite happy with that piece of business.
Yeah, look, I think he's certainly the type of striker you want in that mould. You know, if you're going to play that lone striker role, you need somebody that's going to obviously have the good work ethic, and he clearly has that. I thought his running in the first half in particular was excellent. He was putting a lot of extra pressure on the Celtic defence. You know, he won a couple of really cheap free kicks, getting his body in front of their defenders. And it's important, see when you're playing that kind of style of football that we played yesterday, which was to basically just not pass the ball about the back, I thought he did a really good job. And I thought his movement was really good. I thought it allowed the midfield to get a little bit higher. And I think all of those things are important when you're playing as a main nine. But yeah, I really like him. I mean, I thought he was a good player at Aberdeen. They obviously get his move to Spain, which obviously hasn't fully worked out for him. To me, it was a no-brainer. When you look at potentially the fee, what was it, about 2.5 rising to 4?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's excellent business. You know, when you think about somebody that has to, like, let's be honest about it, he has to come in the building and replace Dessers. He has to replace Dessers. Like the numbers there, he has to replace them. Because you're basically allowing 50 goals over the last 2 seasons to walk out the door. And if you add in, obviously, Kearney, who obviously left at the end of his loan, it's a lot of goals to lose out of the team. So it's really important we can find guys that, I mean, I think as we've said earlier, look, sort of nothing's guaranteed in football. But the fact Miovski scored so many goals for Aberdeen, you would like to think he's going to score a reasonably good amount for Rangers as well if we can give him the chances to score. So that's obviously the next part of this thing where we need to get him into better areas. We need to get better quality into the box. The creativity needs to be better in the final third. But yeah, I thought Miovski did really well in his debut. And I think towards the end, he obviously tired, but that's only natural given he'd only just come into the club 24 hours before.
Yeah, and as Aldo points out, Aberdeen were wanting £9 million for him basically before he went to Girona, which would have been, I think you'd have got him for less, but if we tried to sign him directly from Aberdeen, you're going to pay extra because that's the way it goes. And you see, what I find funny though is you've seen some of the reaction of some of the Aberdeen fans to it. Some of them, admittedly, taking a more mature approach and going, well, he didn't go directly from Aberdeen to Rangers, and fair play to him. It's not, but you've got others who consider him somehow to be traitor to, how could he go to Rangers? It's disgusting. There was even one where he clips one of the guys and they said, "Oh, would you make Miovski sign for Rangers?" The guy's like, "Who?" I'm like, Miovski. Which is not bad. I don't mind that, but I think it's symptomatic of this idea that there's some great rivalry between Aberdeen and Rangers.
Yeah,
there really isn't in the mind of Rangers fans. Yes, you want to beat them because you want to beat anybody, and historically, they've been the third biggest club in the country. So I get all of that. But Rangers and Aberdeen have done plenty of business over the years, signing players back and forward from each other. So I don't think it's up there on a par with signing a former Celtic player.
Yeah, look, I don't think the whole thing stands up to any real reason, to be honest, anymore. Rangers and Aberdeen have done direct deals between each other.
Yeah.
Like Ross McCrory went to Aberdeen. We've obviously had Scott Wright come in, we've had Connor Barron come in, we've had Ryan Jack coming in. Obviously, this Miovski deal, he's kind of went away, but he's come back. And see, at the end of the day, he's maybe getting a better wage here as well. Even after moving to Spain and then moving to Rangers, he might be on more money. So, who's to criticise the guy for taking that offer? I mean, you've had players that have left, Dundee and went to Dundee United. Hibs and Hearts have had guys play for each other. I mean, it's just... I think those days of the whole rivalry and guys not doing that is just, it's long gone. These things are not as big as they once were in football. And when you see like the top 4 teams in England who are supposed to hate each other have a huge rivalry, they basically sell players to each other every summer. So it's not what people think it is anymore. It's not that big of a deal. I think people just need to calm down on it. I get the fact Aberdeen fans are frustrated that he's chose to join Rangers, but maybe he only had a couple of options to leave, and one of those was Rangers.
Aberdeen themselves never ever went back in from him. They didn't try and approach Girona to sign him. There was no conversation so they were not interested in bringing him back. So what was he going to do? Turn down the opportunity to go to a club like the size of Rangers, playing in European football?
Exactly.
You're just not going to, are you? It's
just silly, mate. I mean, it's like the last day of this window, right? There'll clearly be people inside the building today who Rangers would like to get out the door. So I've no doubt on this last day, guys, obviously the Cortez deal's now been announced. So he's obviously off to sign for Gijón in Spain on loan. But they likely aren't even paying all of his wages. Do you know what I mean? So Rangers are probably still picking up maybe half or a quarter of his wages. But the reality for somebody like Cortez is that he needs to go and play. He's now barely played in about 18 months to 2 years, really, when you look at the actual amount of games that he's actually played in that spell. So he needed to get out the building. You've got Clinton Enciala. He needs to get out the building and play. And you could argue the same for guys like Leon King, maybe for Bailey Rice. So it's important.
I think it's a shame for Ciara, because I thought he was starting to look okay when he was coming in the last couple of months of last season. He did start getting games again. And I thought he looked all right when he was coming back in again. He was looking better than he had done in the early going. And it's like, we've signed the boy from Milan. There must have been something about him to be on the books at Milan for any period of time. Hopefully, if he goes out, I would rather it was a loan to get him game time and then see how he goes, because he's still a young lad. And you'll know, obviously, more than myself, because you watch the academy team, so you'll have seen a lot more of him last season when he was getting game time down there as well. I don't, I think there is promise in him. I think he can be a good player. It's just whether or not the club are patient enough to let him go on loan and take that chance to then try and reintegrate him back in again in the future.
But I mean, like, it's also a double-sided thing, isn't it? If he goes and does well there, then Rangers might be able to get a better fee for him.
Yeah.
And the same with Cortez. I mean, at the moment, Cortez's value is probably less than what we actually paid for him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I mean, see last summer there, he was not worth £4.5 million, but Rangers had to pay it because it was the obligation that was set up in the contract. The reality is, this was a guy that had barely played. So when it comes down to it, Rangers need to try and get that fee back for him. Or he then finds he's good level again and he comes back and is part of the team next season. Because that's what's important in this deal. It's getting him out there, it's getting minutes, it's getting game time, it's finding that level again that he was at. And then hopefully, like, he's either then sold on at the same money we got him for or whatever, or as close to it as possible, or he comes back and he becomes part of the first team squad. That's exactly where Cortez is. I think with Enciala, he just needs to play. You know, up until like last season, he'd never played men's football until Rangers gave him his debut. So yet again, he's another guy that needs games. He needs to go out and learn and improve. And there's so many of those players in the building. I mean, like Xander Hutton probably needs to go out and play. Paul and Seal really nice to go out and play. You could argue the same with Bailey Rice. You know, if Finlay Curtis isn't going to get enough minutes in our first team, should we let him go out and loan for a few months, even just until January? It's only 3-4 months, just to give him that first team experience consistently. So it'll be interesting to see what happens today, mate. I suspect that Rangers as a club on a loan point are definitely going to see quite a few players going out the door, as well as it looks like maybe a few coming in as well.
100%, yeah, and hopefully they're the right choices. I agree with the Finlay Curtis thing. I mean, I don't know what more he's supposed to do to get more game time, because he has played very, very well when he has come on. He's scoring goals, which is not anything to be sniffed at this moment in time for the club.
Yeah.
And Russell Martin is intent in not giving him the kind of minutes he needs. And for me, I think you're at a fork in the road here with him, where either he goes out and loan and gets that game time, which he needs, because he's at an important moment in his career where if he gets that time and he can go and flourish, he can become a good player. And that's not just for a Rangers point of view, but even for like a Scotland point of view, for example, you know, later down the line, these are young lads we should be developing. Maybe that is via a loan move. Well, I really don't know, because I can't grasp why Russell Martin isn't fancying him.
I don't think Finlay can do much more than what he has done since the start of the season, in all honesty, whenever he's come off the bench or he's started in games. At the end of the day, I think when you sign Antman, when you sign Gassama, when you pay a good loan fee for Mikey Moore to come up here, it straight away meant that Finlay was on the back foot a little bit. And this is where, possibly just as a courtesy to Finlay, you know, you pull him in and you say, look, I think it's important that you keep playing. We think you've got a big career at Rangers. What we'll do is we'll get you on a new contract. We'll give you a 3 or 4 year deal, because this proves that we believe in you, but we want you to go and play. We want you to go and get 20, 30, 40 games between now and the end of the season, or 15 or 20 between now and January, because we want you to develop and improve to the player that we think you can become. Because at the moment, these wee 5-10 minute sub appearances aren't really helping, in my opinion. I don't think it's giving him enough time to do enough on the pitch. But yet again, I mean, this comes down just purely to the amount of wide players that we now have in the building. Up until a few weeks ago, we didn't have any, and now we've got probably too many, you could argue, to a point, because there is one or two that aren't now getting the minutes that they probably need. So yeah, look, I do think today, without kind of repeating the whole thing again, I do think today is going to be a really busy day with outs as well as ins.
Yes, it will be. That will do us there, folks. Make sure you stay tuned, because later on tonight at 6:30 you've got the women's show. Do join the guys for that. It's always very, very good. I think arguably the best women's show that is out there where Rangers are concerned. So make sure you tune in for that. And tonight we will not be on at our usual time of 7:30. We will in fact be on at 9 p.m. for a bit of a bumper show. It'll be a transfer deadline day special, so you can spend the last couple of hours of the transfer window in our company, Of course, any breaking news and signings and transfers that come in at the last minute, we will be at it and across that for you. I'm reliably informed that Martin might even be in a yellow tie as well, Willie. So there we go. That's when you know the big guns are out. But so make sure you're all tuned in for that. My thanks to Willie for jumping in and saving the day as Martin had to go. And yeah, we will see you very, very